The Shakedown. Why?
It's 2023. New year, new me. And that might come with a career change. It might come with a job change. You might be thinking to yourself, you know what? I think I want to leave where I'm at and I want to move to another company. The question is, can you do that today?
Like resign with immediate effect?
Resign with immediate effect. Is it even possible in this country?
I mean, I've heard about it and I've seen it on TV. And I've always thought that it's a thing where, you can just wake up one day, decide to resign with immediate effect, and they can't fault you on that.
Apparently, that's not a recognized labor law in South Africa.
You can't resign with immediate effect here.
This is what I heard.
How?
This is what I heard. Is it true or not? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a labor lawyer. So I don't know. But this is what I've heard. I've heard that in South Africa, you cannot resign with immediate effect.
This is weird.
Problems.
Because I feel like the workforce in entirety right now is exploring their options.
Yes.
People are not as afraid to resign or leave a company, start something else, change your careers. But the way in which we leave those places is the vital part here in this conversation.
Exactly. So we're going to be finding out in the next couple of moments. We're going to be chatting to someone who can fill us in on whether this is a real law in the country, and also what your employer can and cannot request of you.
Okay.
That's happening in the next couple of moments, so be sure to keep it locked. We're going to be chatting to Henry Khotosa, who is a legal advisor at Labor Law Veritas, who's going to fill us in on this labor law. And this is going to be good for you if you're thinking of leaving your job. Maybe you're thinking of starting a new business, but you need to do it quickly. You can't serve a notice. You want to leave immediately.
Or maybe you've had a spat or a conflict within the office that, you feel like is urgent. I need to leave right now.
Yep.
Just hold on. The law says otherwise.
Maybe your place of work is a toxic environment, because this is what now, these 2000s are making us realize that a toxic work environment is reason enough to want to leave that environment.
Absolutely.
So let's have that conversation in the next couple of moments. Stick around.
The Shakedown. Why?
If Sarah from accounting annoys you for the last time today and you decide, you know what, I'm actually done with this place. Sarah from accounting has annoyed me enough. I'm leaving. Can you resign with immediate effect?
You may want to.
You may want to, but can you?
Legally speaking.
Legally speaking. It's brought to music by Prince KB. That one is called Breakfast in Soweto. Let's find out whether this is a real thing or a myth.
We have got somewhat of a lawmonger in studio. His name is Henry Khotosa, who's a legal advisor at Labor Law Veritas. Henry, let's chat about it. First of all, how you doing?
Hello, Henry.
I'm good.
How are ya?
I'm great, man. Thanks,
very, very well.
No, appreciate it, the invitation.
Yes.
Stoked to be here.
Yes, we're so
chat.
excited to have you here. Let's get into it. First and foremost, can someone resign with immediate effect? What does the labor law in South Africa say about that?
All right, so when it comes to the law, I mean, I did a post on this on TikTok.
Yes,
I think it's close to 400,000 views right now.
Yes.
Man, the responses were crazy, right? I was like, I was working in a call center. I just left. I just left at tea time, left my desk and left, and that's it. So the thing is, the bottom line is this, is that you can't be stopped to do something because you're not a slave, right? You're not a slave. But the point is, that's why I say that it's not recognized. In the sense that you're not protected by the law, because you still have got contractual obligations that you still need to fulfill.
Okay.
So that's the thing, in terms of your notice periods and all these things. So you can't just say, yes, you can, and there are some instances where one, might be facing unfair treatment, the toxic work environment, you're breaking down, your mental health is at risk and all these things. You can leave. You can leave. But the point is, legally, there are still some, consequences or things that we need to, tie up. That's just the way
Before
it is.
you leave.
Yeah.
Not before you, so you can go.
Okay.
But now there can be, some consequences with regards to that.
Okay.
So there is one obligated to serve a notice period. And how does that work? Is it one notice period for us all, or is it, deferring to how you were working in terms of duration?
Yeah, so it's everything is underpinned by a contract, right? So it's a commercial rationale. So the labor law is a commercial contract, at the basis of it. So it means, you need to serve notice. So the basic conditions of Employment Act says that if there is it has set out like the bare minimum, whereby everyone has to comply, employers and employees. So just going at that, Section 37 would tell us that if one has worked for 1 week, then you need if you've worked for less than 6 months, 6 months or less, you need to serve notice of 1 week.
Okay.
Right at the company. If you 2 weeks, if you have been employed for more than 6 months but less than a year, or 4 weeks if you have been employed for more than a year. But however, if you're a farm worker and a domestic worker, you have to serve, those, the 4 weeks, even if you've been, just employed for more than 6 months.
Okay.
So that's actually protecting, like, the domestic worker. So the thing is, with this legislation, one might think that this is actually protecting the employer only, but it's protecting you as an employee, those notice periods as well.
Okay. Can your employer reject your resignation? If you hand it in and you say, I'm leaving, I'm out of here, I don't want this place anymore, and they say, no, you're staying. Can they do that?
So again, guys, it's not slavery, right? So no one can force you to be here. No one can force you to be here. However, what happens is that, and people say that, accepting resignations, not accepting resignations and the likes. But the bottom line is this: if your employer, if you say that, okay, I'm going now, and you want to do it properly or correctly. So sometimes the instances that we get, or the inquiries, is whereby someone wants to resign, they've got a 30 days notice, but sometimes it's actually a 30-day calendar notice.
So there's business days in between.
You understand?
Oh my gosh.
So you can't come and say that, okay, so your employer will tell you, okay, I've seen you want to serve notice, but we said calendar. So right now, everyone under that sort of regime needs to start in Feb. So your notice is going to start on the 1st of Feb, So those are the inquiries that we get as well with regards to these notice periods.
I'm shook.
He had no idea.
I had no idea.
So some of these workplaces will do this thing where they'll tell you, oh, the company's going under, restructuring or whatever. And then they'll say, but you can reapply for the position you currently have.
Yeah. We're going to let you go now.
But
try again.
You can reapply for what you already have. Is this legal? Is there any shadiness at any point?
So when it comes to retrenchments, right, operational requirements. So when a company, for whatever reason, they can say whether it's a financial reason, technological reason, maybe things are different. Yes, they can say, okay, guys, as part of, okay, we have done the whole retrenchment processes, the consultations. But however, if we, terminate you now, we are actually giving you guys first preference to actually then come back, to the organization.
Okay.
So that's actually something that can happen.
Okay.
Or during the consultation processes, what can happen is that, because there's something called reasonable alternatives. Before we call it a day, let's look at, are there any reasonable alternatives? So maybe the job has changed. So now, between what you guys are doing, now maybe you also need to look, for sponsors as well. Maybe that's now part of this is now the new deal, for you to do what you do. So now you have to maybe do an interview to see that, okay, we know that you're capable to do what you're doing right now, but can you now do the business side of things and all these things? So therefore you have to apply to see if you can actually do this new role.
Okay.
If the job is staying the exact same way?
No, if the job, so guys, so if there's no reason to retrench, so if the job is staying the exact same way, then there's no reason for me to apply to save my job, because I already can do the job.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with retrenchments, there has to be a reason for it. And unfortunately, sometimes the employees do not have a lot of information, because if a company just comes and says that, okay, we are facing financial difficulties, I mean, who has the bank statements? I mean, they won't show you. Like, they'll say, okay, this is really, and hey, man, there's this contract which came in. Actually, you're part of getting the contract. And now you're like, man, but they're telling you, but it is what it is, But the CCMA does help, if you get proper legal advice with regards to that.
Just before we take a break, when it comes to reapplying for a position, if you see that the position in terms of salary is much lower than what you were getting, is that legal for them to do as well?
Ooh.
So guys, as long as there are reasons reasons to actually retrench,
Okay.
operational requirements, and they are justified. Operation, because there's something called freedom of contract, right?
Okay.
There's freedom. Under your own free will, you've chosen to be here, right? That's why. That's your own free will, and the employer chooses to employ you as well. However, if they say, okay, guys, this position is now worth 50% less, you have to apply your mind and say, okay, this is what they can afford now, and these justifications. Now let me see, is this still worth it for me, or can I hang on here a bit, or can I take a voluntary package and call it a day? So they can even ask you to move cities. I mean, there's one guy who lost his severance. I think they worked for like 11 years. And the company, they're working in Cape Town, and the company was saying, okay, we need to now move to Joburg, right? Because of the situation at the company, we now need to move to Joburg. And the guy refused during the retrenchments. And the CCMA, ultimately the Labour Court, said that actually that was a reasonable alternative for you to move. Even with your kids and schools established and all these things, that was a reasonable alternative. So now since you refused, you're not getting your severance. And that's like, it could be like 2 weeks, depending on your seniority and the deal you have. Maybe it's 2 weeks for every year worked. Now you're just losing that. But normally it's like 1 week for every completed year.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
We've got a couple more questions to ask Henry. The one that I'm excited to hear about is telling company secrets.
Okay.
Let's have that chat in the next couple of moments.
The Shakedown. Why?
So Henry just shook us with some more information.
Hey.
We have to share this with you. We absolutely have to share this with you. Brought you music by Focalistic. This one is called Dipuos. Java's on this one as well. Henry mentioned something to us off air about, when people say, nah, I just up and left. I just got up from my desk. I walked out, went to lunch, and I never came back.
Called it a day.
Apparently, not that good an idea. Right, Henry?
Nah, it's not a great idea. So, guys, it depends what's worth it, right? So, if it's really worth it for your employer to pursue you, so as much as you can't just, you don't have to it's not slavery and all these things. But underpinning the employment contract is actually it's a commercial contract, a commercial agreement, and things that you're supposed to do. It's the same thing when people resign to avoid the disciplinary hearing. So you get a disciplinary hearing. So in those instances, you need to agree with your company. Otherwise, if they say come to the disciplinary hearing, you have to go to the disciplinary hearing, or they can do it in your absence, right? And you can't protect yourself. And if you're in these industries like your call centers, insurance, you're blacklisted. They debar you and stuff like that. However, guys. So there are some people, of course, I mean, if you're a high earner, let's say you're a senior person, you've got, so though the basic conditions gives us the minimum in terms of notice period, there are some people who are high earners. They probably will be asked in a senior position, no, you need to serve 3 months notice. You need to serve 6 months notice and all these things, right? So if in those instances, let's say you're earning 100K and six months is 600,000.
Yes.
And someone will feel that, but no, this is worth it.
I can stay.
The company will be like, it's worth it. Either you can stay, or if you just up and leave, the company will say, okay, that we can get that 600K from him.
You.
Right? Because you didn't serve your notice period or any other damages that they can prove to say that, okay, because you left and you're in the senior position, this is how it was detrimental to the company. And these are damages and all these. Obviously, it's a
So
civil
they can
route.
sue you for 600K and they can make you pay that money.
Whatever they can prove, because you haven't you haven't performed in terms of the contract that you
And
had.
the company is losing money in your absence.
I mean, they can be ruined, depending on who you are, of course. So, yeah, I mean, and so I said, it was a crazy, we did this video and it was fun. The responses were fun. Just saying
Now,
they walked out,
Let's flip the situations around just for a second. If one can't resign with immediate effect, can I be fired with immediate effect?
All right, so guys, so that's the thing, right? When it comes to the labor laws here in South Africa, right? They actually protect you in the sense that so there's something they have to do a hearing. Whatever it has to be, the dismissal has to be substantively and procedurally fair. So there has to, even if you catch me stealing, in the act, there's something called the right to be heard. Because of the past history and all these things, whereby people were just flogged before payday, and then they say they ran away or whatever it is.
I see.
So there's something called the right to be heard, whereby I have to say my side of the story, right? And it has, so you can't just say that, you know what, I caught you doing this, leave now. So, however, in those instances, there's something called summary dismissal, but it's not like the Trump or, you know, the apprentice, you're fired. You know, now, it doesn't work like that. So, yes, we do the hearing. We're going to do the hearing.
Yeah.
But I can then, so a summary dismissal in the South African context is that I would then say, okay, you know, we did the hearing and you're guilty and the outcome is dismissal, you have to go. However, guys, if there are things such as no-fault dismissals, which are things like your retrenchments, things such as poor work performance, whereby you're performing poorly because you don't have the capacity, you don't have the aptitude, you know, to perform.
You're not to do your job,
Henry. It's not your fault. You just don't have the skills. You know what I'm trying to say? So in those ones, we do the notice periods.
Okay.
So these notice periods, what I was saying, that they also protect employees, because this means that, so if your company says, okay, you need to leave now, we have dismissed you properly and whatever, but go now. When it was a retrenchment, they still need to pay me my notice. So I can serve it at home, it's fine, but pay me. Pay me for it. So that's where it protects. So that's why it's saying the farm workers and the domestics, even if they worked, you know, for 6 months only, and they are still entitled to the 1 month.
Okay.
So it's like a protection for them. So that's how sort of the law works. But people can't just say, you know what, I caught you doing this, go immediately. They have to do the hearing.
Yes.
But if it's something like a retrenchment and all these things, no fault, dismissal, incapacity, you have to give me my notice.
Okay.
So the other thing, what we see some employers doing is that they'll just come to you and say, actually your contract says that we can let you go in 30 days. So in 30 days. No, there has to be a reason for it. Yeah.
Okay, I was just about to ask you, while you're serving notice, if your employer decides to fire you during that time, are they liable to compensate?
So it depends, right? In the sense that if you know, if it's a misconduct, you know, you do a misconduct, you know, you do something wrong, and they can actually do a hearing for you, then they can actually dismiss you within your notice period. And I'm serving my notice in Jan. I do something crazy now on the 12th. On the 16th, they do the hearing. On the 18th, I can be gone, right? But the thing is this. If you go to the CCMA and they find out that actually this dismissal was unfair, you can get compensated, but only for that remaining 2 weeks. You know, whatever the balance of
your notice.
Of your notice
was.
period. Because that's what you're due to, you know, legally.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when one leaves a company, right? Say maybe they did you wrong, like an ex. Are you obligated to keep company secrets or perhaps things that were happening in that toxic environment to yourself? Are you obligated to whatever company secrets you've gathered or how they trade information? Must you keep that to yourself, or can you go out and sing like a canary?
So it depends whether there's a non-disclosure agreement, maybe a restraint of trade. Some contracts have confidentiality clauses and all these things for a period of time. Because as you said, you know, the way people work, their trade secrets and all these things.
Yes.
So again, you know, if they find out that, okay, this is what you're doing and, you know, they're likely, you know, going to compromise their business and all these things, then they can actually go to the High Court, get an interdict and all these things. You know, it can end up just being costly, you know.
Sure. Okay. So if you want to tell your new company how to steal your own old company's clients, you need to be a little bit careful because they might come after you.
Yeah. So that's part of the restraint of trade, confidentiality. But there has to be like a protectable interest. So you can't come after me, you know, to when I go to a company. But there was someone else who was working for a company who resigned 2 months ago and went to the same company. So already, you know, the secrets are out, you know, so to speak, you know. So there's no longer any interest, you know, to protect and things like that.
Would the treatment fall part of the secrets or trade?
Yeah, I mean, it's not protectable, you know. If that's what, unless you're saying, we're really, you know, treating you badly, we don't want you to tell someone else and all these things.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Henry, you have blown our minds. You have been incredibly informative and helpful today. We do appreciate it. If anyone is listening to you now and they say, I need to call Henry because what's happening here is nonsense, how do we get a hold of you?
All right. So the way you can get a hold of us at Labour Law Veritas is that if you go to our website, it's labourlawveritas.co.za, or you can contact us on 011 531-8995. We are by Spaces Design Quarter in Fourways.
Wonderful. Henry, thank you so much for coming through today.
No, thank you guys for having me, man. Much appreciated.
Thank you
and
so much.
Thank you to the
Your let go with immediate effect.
You better pay me for that.
The Shakedown. Monday to Friday, 12 to 3 p.m.